For some of them, we just extended it out to 10 just because there's more guys to talk about, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So more exciting. Patrick Surtain from Alabama. I think he's the best defensive player in the class, like a 6'2" corner with good athleticism. And he can play safety too. Like, people think he's a little slow. I mean, I don't think that's a huge issue. And if it turns out to be an issue, he could definitely play safety. He's 6'2" again with good instincts, good ball skills. And he's just a stud. 2, I've got J.C. Horn, son of great wide receiver Joe Horn. So, he's got good ball skills. Yeah. And he's a freaky athlete, 6'1". Caleb Farley from Virginia Tech. I would have had him too, but he's had to have back surgery this offseason. He's had the surgery twice now. It's the surgery that ended Tony Romo's career and also what Rob Gronkowski's had to deal with. So it's definitely concerning. I think it's called a microdiscectomy. And yeah, how, depending on how, obviously we don't have his medicals, but depending on how the teams that have his medicals feel about him, I think he could go higher. He could be the number 2 off the board. He could also go 4th round, depending on what his outlook is. And then Greg Newsom from Northwestern, fast, super technically sound. I think he's just a guy who can come in, contribute right away, be a good corner. Tyson Campbell from Georgia, another guy who's just ridiculously technically sound, like pretty much perfect technique. Another guy who's just going to be a day one, probably number 2 or 3 corner depending on how good your secondary is, but just super good player. Asante Samuel Jr., who a lot of people like. I like him too, just not as much as some other people, just because he's a little small, but super fast, super smart. His dad, obviously Asante Samuel Sr., is a great NFL corner, so he's got that football IQ.
Get him here.
Aaron Rodgers from UCF, out of that ridiculously good UCF secondary, teammates with Richie Grant, who we talked about earlier. Mm-hmm. He's another really good player. Eric Stokes from Georgia, 4'3", 40 guy, super fast. Not as technically sound as his teammate Tyson Campbell, but so much raw talent to work with there. Paulson Adebo, he's fallen down boards just because he opted out this year, but if he had played this year, he'd probably be a first-round pick. His tape is really impressive. It's just the kind of recency bias, I think, puts a lot of these guys higher just because you don't know exactly. You don't have tape on him for 2020, so you can't really comment on that. And then Marco Wilson from Florida, who looks like I'm the only guy who has him on my list, but he's another really good athlete. He takes a lot of risks, which is concerning to some people, but I think that's something that can be coached out of him. So I just think those tools, and if you can kind of get him under control.
I mean,
sometimes that's a good thing if you're he's a playmaker.
Yeah, I mean, didn't
Sims... With a playmaker, you're going to have some miss, some hit, so...
Yeah, I think Sims had him very high, if I remember correctly. Wilson.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Which, take that as you will. Yeah, Andrew, go ahead.
All right. So it looks like we're same thing, 1 through 4. More J.C. Horn. I love J.C. Horn. Honestly, Surtain, I think is better and will go first. But there's way more things I'd be surprised at more than J.C. Horn being the first corner off the board, honestly. I just think he's just a pure disruptor. He is aggressive. He attacks the ball. He knows when it's coming, where it's going to be. Just great instincts. If people are concerned about Surtain's speed, I'm not. But again, it wouldn't be surprising if I see Horn go above. And then I switched Tyson Campbell to Asante Samuel Jr. from Cams. I mean, with a guy whose father was a great NFL corner, I just think he's going to come in right away, know exactly what to do, know exactly where to be. I think he's just an animal. I would love for New England to somehow get him. If they can get other things that they need to sort out first, I think he's going to be a great NFL CB. Yep. Campbell, go Dogs. You're playing in a great conference or playing great receivers. He's proven that he's a great corner. He will be great right in the NFL right away. Kelvin Joseph, I love. At Kentucky with Jamin Davis, another player I love. These are 2 guys on a program that's on the rise, but still not really yet at that level of teams like Alabama, LSU in their conference. But again, they're playing those teams. They're performing against those teams. He's definitely in the running. One of the best corners in this class, in my opinion. Whatever team gets him is going to get great value wherever they pick him, somewhere probably second, third round. Aaron Robinson, we touched on. Great. UCF's had a great secondary. He's a big reason, part of that. I like Afitu Melifonu. I hope he doesn't really turn up like his older brother, Obi, who hasn't really done much of anything in the NFL. But he's big, 6'3", 213. Much like the Surtain, where if he ends up not being fast enough for corner, go move to safety. Again, like a Cam Chancellor kind of role. Big, just intimidator. And then I finally haven't had my safety in his rankings. I have Elijah Molden as a corner, as a slot corner. He's been great for Washington. He's fast. He's a little small, but again, slot corner, you're coming up against smaller guys too. I just think his instincts, his quickness, I think he just easily deserving of a top 10 corner spot, even if he may play safety, who knows.
Totally. All right. So for me, I've got J.C. Horn, number one.
It's a crazy list right here.
I've switched it up a little bit. I think J.C. Horn is someone. So I doing my research, I saw the Cowboys had an interview with Kyle Pitts, and they released that they asked him, who is the toughest corner that you came up against? And he said J.C. Horn. And I buy into that a lot. I think Horn's this guy who is just like an ultimate competitor, just wants to beat you bad. He's physical, he's got the tools to be great. Obviously, there's like some concerns about him holding and being a little overly physical, which could get him into some penalty trouble. But I think you can kind of coach it out of him, and I think like the spirit of it is good. It's just like, he's going to get a couple calls early in his career, but I think if he's got the right coach.
That's any rookie, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
And again, if the guy they're dubbing the next Megatron is saying he was the toughest guy to go up against, I think that's a good indicator.
I buy into it a lot. Farley over Surtain. That's tough. Farley, obviously, there's a bit of a question mark there. Like his injury, how exactly it's going to affect him. If it's bad, obviously, I would move him down a bunch. I'd probably move him, around to where Tyson Campbell is. But I think his speed and athleticism and ability to like keep up with number one receivers is really, really impressive. And that's why I have him over Surtain. I think Surtain, as fundamentally sound as it gets, but you're going to have to play a lot of a team that plays a lot of man coverage is going to struggle using Surtain because he's not a guy who can guard the wide receiver one every snap, especially if they're like a really quick guy.
Farley's the second biggest corner in terms of weight and height, just after Melifonu and plus up.
As quick as
corner.
So I just think like the physical tools there are crazy. And then I have Greg Newsom, who it's not a guy you've seen a ton of tape on. It's like he plays at Northwestern, watching a ton of Northwestern, and also he hasn't played that much. But I think that he's allowed under. It's either 100 or 200 yards in his career at Northwestern, which is just ridiculous. He's got great fundamentals. And then Tyson Campbell, I really like. I think he's just playing in a tough conference, just playing tough football. Asante Samuel Jr., I think he's a little undersized, but I think, he's got the ability of any other guy in the class. He's going to be a tough. You're going to have to work around matching him up against certain players, but I think, ability-wise, he's up there. And then I got Eric Stokes out of Georgia, number 7, who I like a lot. Cam, remind me of what he ran his 40 time. It's ridiculous.
4.2 mid unofficial, but I think they've started calling him like a 4.3. I know, like low 4.3.
When you can run that fast, You've already got a step on Tyreek Hill. Obviously, you're not really covering Tyreek Hill. But if there's someone to do it, it's this guy. So I just think when you can run that fast, and obviously he's played at a high level for 3 years. I assume he's a junior. I just think you got to take a chance on him early because you could just find some great value, especially in the second round. And then Aaron Robinson out of UCF. as I said, just part of that great UCF secondary. He originally played at Alabama, I believe. Didn't really work out, but he was a top 20 recruit out of high school. I think he's just really talented, and I think he'll be able to put the pieces together. I'm big on, Afitu Melifonwu. I think he's really good. Good tools. Just got it together. And then my last one was Kelvin Joseph. As Andrew said, part of this up-and-coming Kentucky program. He's a little bit on the smaller side, but makes for some quickness. That's great. He's not particularly short. He's just a little on the skinnier side of things. Probably needs to put on a little muscle. But
the 192. He's not the smallest we've had. Campbell's only 185.
Yeah, so he's very quick. I think,
and he's only a sophomore, so
I think
a year younger than a lot of these guys. He's got more.
You can teach technique. You can't teach running a 4.35 at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So,
did you guys see yesterday the Kentucky coach said that he thinks they're right there with Alabama and Clemson?
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that.
That's why I said up and coming, because
I love that.
We talked about this when we were talking to Devin Davis. They're not there yet, but again, they're playing those teams.
Yeah.
And individual guys are performing where previously they haven't really had any individual guys, really.
What's the running back from Kentucky came at? Or Benny Snell on Steelers.
Yeah.
He was nasty in college for Kentucky.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I'm excited for Kentucky. Even SEC is becoming even better.
Yeah. Exactly. And just to talk about this corner class generally, I think it's really good. I think you find guys that can.
Yeah. I mean, you get any of these guys are going to be great value no matter where.
Totally.
On my list, I could see anywhere from 1 through 7 going first round.
Yeah.
I'm not saying all of them will, but I think any combination of those guys.
Totally agree.